Hello everybody. In this Touchdesigner tutorial, you would actually get to learn how to create the psychedelic design using very few components of Touchdesigner. So in this Touchdesigner tutorial, you would actually learn how to create this and a lot more. So you would definitely learn a lot in this Touchdesigner tutorial. And believe me, it's very simple. Okay? All right, let's get going. First thing first, let's clear the canvas. Done. Now, this entire psychedelic designs that we are going to do, we are not going to use SOP at all. It's completely going to be based on top. And again, it's very simple. So we'll be using circle. Let's go to common. Let's change the resolution from 256 to 1024. And pixel format will make it as 32-bit RGBA. I need to change the radius of circle to 0.05. So that serves good purpose for us. Now, the other thing I need is LFO. Now, LFO will be used to change the position of circle. So let's change the amplitude to 0.5 for now. Let's change the frequency to 0.1. This looks perfect. Let's use this LFO value to change the Y position of a circle. So now we can see that things are moving here, right? Now let's go and use null. Let's have feedback. Let's have level. Let's have transform. Let's have composite. Let's have one more null, and let's have RGB key. Done. Now let's make a little bit of better placement so that we can understand our network in much more better way. Let's connect the feedback loop properly. We go change the operation from multiply to add. This looks good. Transform, let's change the scale to 0.98. So we are reducing the scale and transform. And okay, let us give it a try. Let us see what comes up here. RGB key is going to be the output for me. Let's connect things and let's see how the values are popping up for us. Done. This looks perfect considering the kind of operation that we have given. Now we are going to try with rotation. So at this time, the rotation that I'm going to apply is ABS time dot seconds into 0.5. Done. This is good. Let's have chop, keyboard chop, just in case if we want to clear off our feedback. So let's use keyboard chop to use the reset. And in this, I will be using extend from 0 to mirror. Okay. Now, as we can see, by doing mirror, things are just turning out to be so white. Now, what I really want to do is I want to make sure that the rotation, the level that we have, let's reduce the opacity. Okay, so as soon as we reduce the opacity, we get to see a better output coming in. I would still go and change the radius of a circle to 0.02. Now, by having 0.02, we definitely see a better output coming in. One thing that we want to do is let's change this to 0.99. And in transform, now this is where we get a magic. We can change and play around with 0.03. So we get some different complete design, and you see how well the design is turning out to be very vibrant actually. Now you would be thinking that there is a lot of gray stuff coming in. Now that gray stuff can be removed just by adding a level after comp. So let's add level and let's increase the contrast to a desirable level that you need. So you can have like 2 where it completely clears off most of the gray part. But yeah, depending on how you like it or what you want to do it, you can just decide on it. So I'm happy to go with 0.5 or 1.5, right? So this is one artwork that you definitely can produce with this. The other thing that you can do is we can try and play around with one more operation, which is repeat. So if I do a repeat, I get a complete different design that which was not expected altogether, right? So let's just wait and we'll actually get to know how repeat is bringing in the kind of output that we need. With repeat, you definitely have an option of increasing the size of a circle. So let's try and increase the size of the circle just to get things around. Yeah, with repeat, you definitely have you have different variety of output coming in. And in this, we can definitely see how well the output is popping up. Here we can try and change the speed of the movement of circle. So instead of 0.1, we can have 0.5. And we can see how fast it is going. It's actually too fast. So let's go and change it to 0.2. And by having it 0.2 and with repeat as the extend operation of transform, we see a different output altogether. So this is second artwork that you can definitely create. Now there is little more movement. Let's try to add. Okay. Instead of having ABS time, there's another technique that we can use, and that technique is LFO. So let's have LFO. Now I'm going to be very, very specific to the position of to the rotation that I am trying to enable here. So first thing is I'm going to set my offset to 170. And then I'm going to set my amplitude to 20. So by doing that, you can see that numbers are ranging from 150 to 190, right? Now the frequency is very fast. Let's go and change it to 0 0.1 for now. So the numbers are moving very, very smoothly. Now, again, that can be changed later on as and when we need it. Okay. So let's go and use the LFO value and change the rotation value of transform. So by changing that, now we are ensuring that our values are just within the range of the rotation angle of my 150 to 190. Now again, this is turning out a bit too quick. First thing that we can try and do is let's go and change the frequency of our circles movement at the very first place from 0.02 from 0.2 to 0.1. So this will hold up things for us. And then we can go and change the frequency here where we are trying to change the amplitude value based on the frequency of 0.1. So let's make it to 0.05. And by doing that, we see slowness in our entire movement. And so it's very pleasing design which can bring up. Now again, there are other operations that we definitely have that we can try. Instead of repeat, let's have mirror. And by doing mirror, we get a different output altogether. So this actually shows like how output 1 and output 2 can be created by using it, right? Now, again, we can change the level, and by disabling the level, we see a lot of gray area coming in. But yeah, of course, we have an option of disabling it, enabling it, depending on how we want to do it, right? The other thing that we can try is instead of offset 170, we can go with 130. With 130, there's a different unique pattern that you actually get to see, and which is again amazing. So this is how we can try and play around with these operations. Now you would be wondering, how did I get that colorful image, the colorful output which was coming up, right? So it's again very simple. It's not that difficult. In order to get the colorful output, what we can do is Let me just go and change the values. So instead of mirror, I'm just going to say repeat. Okay, so that looks better, at least for my eyesight at this point of time. What we could do is we can have a noise. So let's have noise chop, and I'll make it as monochrome. One thing that you have to be very careful about is the period. Let's not have period anything more than 1. And let's disable a level for this at this point of time now. Or let's just disable it. Now what we would do is we would use a lookup. So let's go and add the lookup. So lookup is here. Let's assign the value. Let's assign the noise to the lookup. And here we go. We see the colorful output coming in. Now, the other thing that we definitely have an option of doing here is increasing the radius of the circle. And as and when we increase the radius of the circle, we see a different output. Now, you must be wondering that this is really, really quick, which is going on. We can even change the amplitude value from 20 to 10, so the value will be more subtle, and it will be really good for the movement. So this is one thing that we can do. The other thing that we definitely have an option is we can change the radius based on the LFO. So let's go and add one more LFO, and that LFO we can so let's find out what is the permissible radius that we want to have. So we want to have values from 0.02 to 0.06, right? So for that to happen, I would go with 0.03 as my offset, and then I would have, actually, I'll have 0.04 as my offset, and amplitude, I'm going to set it as 0.02. So now we can see the values are ranging from 0.02 to 0.06. Definitely frequency, I'm going to set it as 0.1 for now, so it becomes smooth and it's not that fast. Or maybe, I can have it as 0.05 for now. And again, depending on the mood, we can change it. So let's change the value of radius, and we see a difference altogether. So as and when the values are changing, we will be able to see the different output. The other thing that we forgot to do is changing the value of noise based on the transform value. So let's use ABS time.seconds into 0.1. So we see different output at every given point of time. We can change it to 0.5 as well, just to see more vibrant colors. But yeah, this is one output psychedelic design that we will be able to create it. Okay. The other important thing that we can give a try and do is, so let's go and change the transform. Instead of the value coming from LFO, let's make it as 180 for now. So by doing 180, it has again a different rotation coming in, and we see a different output. But now I'm going to change my rotation value. Instead of LFO, I will just try with ABS time dot seconds into 1 for now. Okay, and by doing that, it's a different output altogether. We definitely have an option of, instead of repeat, we can go to mirror, and we'll get a complete different output. And it's fascinating altogether. The other thing that we always have an option of playing around with these transform values. So I had kept it as 0.03. I'll make it as 0. Okay. Then I do have an option of changing the rotation. It's very quick. Let's make it as 0.1 for now. So by doing that, things are really, really colorful. Okay, now I can enable level, and let's see how the outputs are popping up. And it's still like, it's an experiment that you can try and play around with. The last thing we want to do is just how what we have created with one circle, let's try and have it with two circles. So I copy all of these three and I paste it again. Okay. Now this has been pasted. Let's add some space in order to have one more comp. So I would use one more comp here. So it's composite. Now what I really want to do is I want to change the phasing of these values. So instead of I make it as 0.3, this I make it as 0.4. So some different values, not same as what we get here. Okay. So let's have the radius. I want to drive it from LFO 5. So let's change the value here and here. Done. And the position of y, I want to change it based on LFO 4, right? So let's go and instead of 1, let's make it as 4. So this looks perfect. And now I can slightly increase the offset to 5. Okay. And let's connect these together. So now we say two different set of output, and instead of multiply, let's add it. Done. Now let's try and reset our feedback and let's see how well the output is coming around. So this is very. Now I will change opacity a little bit so we get more variety in our output. And this is exactly what we wanted to achieve as a part of our design. So such psychedelic stuff can be created very easily with very basic operations, if you know. Now, the last thing that we want to achieve is let's add a little bit of blur actually, okay? And we'll get to know how fluid and how beautiful the final output turns around. So let's add blur. And I will change this blur value instead of 7, let's make it as 12. And we can see how the fluid effect actually starts coming in. So that's one of the output that I wanted to showcase. So you can imagine like it's very simple to produce such wonderful output with very few clicks and very few operations and nodes. And this is how we can actually have the output coming around. The other thing that we definitely can do is we can change and we can increase the circle, or we can just disable this. And let me increase the size of a circle. And now we say a complete different output altogether. And this is what we can produce as a part of increasing certain values at certain point of time. Then you always have a chance to play around with level to have more sharp output, but I would not use it at this point of time. Let's have more variety in the colors considering we are using lookup from the noise. The other thing that we can try is if you want to change the rotation value based on a specific set of outputs. So let's try and do that. I would be using this LFO. So this is one of the good technique that I generally use in my artwork. So let's go and try and change the value, and we'll see how well the results are popping around. So yeah, I mean, there is so much so that you could do here. The other thing that we have an option of doing is go to transform and go to tile instead of mirror. We can just make it as repeat, and you'll see altogether a different set of output coming around. And yeah, this is something that I wanted to showcase as a part of this Touch Designer tutorial. Guys, I mean, it would be amazing if you guys can follow me on Patreon. Your small contribution will definitely help me a lot. And as you know, that I try to deliver content which is very, very simple, and it actually gives you an understanding of how things can be created with few basic things. So there's a lot that I have which I would want to share as a part of learning. Yeah, stay tuned for that, and we'll see you on the next tutorial. Thank you so much, and goodbye for now from Sydney. Bye bye.